Alright, so here we are in the garage for part 2 of the 250 GROM swap. My garage is a disaster. I'm not going to do as much cinematography as I normally do. It's basically going to be a quick walk around to show you the progress before we start picking up with the build again this weekend. So here we go, part 2, 250 GROM swap. Alright, so here we go. We'll do a quick walk around of the frame before I put the motor in, and we'll kind of talk about it. So first I'm going to show you this. You can clearly see one side is offset a lot more than the other. This is not done on accident, this was done on purpose. So this far side, or the right side, it has two 35-degree bends in it. There's nothing on the right side that would really affect why we need to bend it that way. We like the 35 degrees, so we went with those. However, the reason why this side is out a lot further is because of the carburetor. You'll see it when I put the motor together, the carburetor actually sits like right up inside here. So we did two 45-degree bends and brought it out a little more. This gave us more clearance for the carburetor. We could have, I don't know, like doglegged it, like come out straight and then bent it in, but we wanted to kind of keep it symmetrical. So one side sticks out a little further than the other with a 10-degree more bend. Once I put the motor in and the gas tank on, it'll make a lot more sense, because I know a lot of you guys are probably going like, what the fuck? But anyways. Alright, so up front we have 1/8" steel plating on both sides. What we did was we kind of wire wheeled the frame, so we got all the paint off, made these steel plates and welded it to the frame, to the steering stem, and then to the existing part of the frame that we didn't cut. We also welded on the inside. This gave us a really solid mount to mount our new frame tubes on. Okay, and then we also mounted these new frame tubes lower on the right side to allow this bolt for the tank to come out. We were gonna do like weld some tabs off here, but I wanted it quick, down and dirty, just get it over with. These are already perfect, let's leave it in there. So this side is actually mounted, welded a hair lower, just to allow that bolt to come out, slide out this way. So we did the same thing on the rear. Made metal brackets or metal plates out of the same 1/8" steel. Welded it pretty much everywhere we could. That gave us a really solid mounting point to mount the aft section of the tube on there. We did that on both sides. So the existing frame is, it's probably a little less than 1/8 of an inch. I'm not sure what that exact measurement is, but it's pretty small. So this plate is actually a lot thicker. Well, not a lot thicker, but a good amount thicker than the original frame. So what we did was weld these plates in place. Then we welded these, or we bent these, the frame tubes, welded those in place, and then we cut out the backbone. This alleviated any possibility of the frame moving and misaligning. So the next part is actually pretty cool, and I have it bolted in right now, so I can't really show you too much, but these are the brackets I made to mount the aft section of the motor. It uses the existing motor mount points for the GROM frame and motor, and then I drilled this hole to use the existing mounting point on the KX motor. This worked out really well. It put the KX in like a damn near perfect spot. The only thing I had to do was I had to go to the store or go to the local welding supply and buy some pipe or some tube to fit in between here. Because what happened was, the first time I put this on here, I put the brackets in, I put the bolts through, and when I tightened everything down, it actually pulled the frame together a little bit. The frame wasn't strong enough. So what I did was cut these down to the proper length to fit in between here. Of course, after I moved everything back, kind of tapped it with a hammer until it was good. So now I have big steel spacers in there. So now I can really crank on these bolts and they're not gonna go anywhere. So mounting the motor. Finding the bolt to fit the motor was an absolute nightmare. There is nothing anywhere. I went to all the local shops, local hardware stores, welding supply, fastener places, everything. I couldn't find anything. I even looked online, couldn't find anything. So it was pretty much a specific special made part. I didn't want to do that, so I took, this is an old bolt in the video 1 that you saw me like pounding out of the frame. This is the bolt that holds the swing arm, frame, and engine together. I pulled it out, I cut it down to the proper length, and then today I need to take it to a machine shop and have them thread the end of it so a nut goes on. But basically this is going to slide through, and then you can see where enough sticks out where I can thread it and stick a nut on there. And then this is going to hold the actual motor in place. I'm going to create spacers to properly align the motor too. Alright, so here we go with everything kind of in and mocked up. So the motor is sitting pretty much where it's going to sit. Right now I only have the front hanging by the 550 cord, but as you can see with the exhaust and everything that's on there, it lines up pretty well. So if you're looking at the side over here, the rear sets sit in a good spot. I mean, this thing's fucking money, man. So the clearance for the tank, so you can see I got just enough clearance for the tank. If I went in any further, we'd actually be touching the tank. Then under, I got just enough clearance for the exhaust pipe. We're gonna make a little bracket that drops down off this for that, or for the top part of the exhaust pipe. The rear part of the exhaust pipe is pretty good. It's really tall, so I'm actually probably gonna cut this down a little bit. It's rubbing, actually no, it's not really rubbing. That was where, whoops, let me focus. Right there was where the rear brake reservoir used to mount. So I had to cut that off, and once I make the mount, there'll be plenty of space right there. It should, or it might, retain the factory mounting point. I don't know, it's gonna be close with this right here, so we'll see. I'm hoping I can tuck it behind there, maybe just shave around it, but we will see. For the fuel system, because obviously the GROM is fuel injected, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the fuel pump out, and then I'm just gonna make a cover plate, put the cover plate on there, and then I'll create some sort of system where it'll feed a line through the cap that I make. Or I was thinking about tapping it on the bottom, but there's not, once it comes down here, there's not much room, so I'm leaning more towards making a cap right here and then putting a tube in here. I might run into issues with fuel once it gets like really low, but as long, I don't think it'll be a huge issue, because it'll be like siphoning fuel from a tank. Once the fuel's filled, it'll start pushing it out through the carb, and then once it starts coming down, it'll continue to flow. The only issue you might have is if I have when I install the petcock and you turn it on and off, if the fuel's all the way down here and I shut it off and then turn it back on, it might not come around. But I don't think I'm ever gonna run that empty. So this side, you can see, let me bump up the ISO. Alright, so I got not a lot of room, but enough room above the carburetor. I got maybe, I could stick my finger in there. So between the carburetor and the tank, I got maybe a finger's width. And then, if we come around over here, there's just ever so slightly enough room for the electronics on the carburetor and this frame right here. I didn't want to push it too much, but there's enough room right there right now. And the carburetor will sit right there. And then we're gonna have a foam, just a regular uni, just a regular uni foam filter, boom, right on the carb. I might grind this down a little bit so it's nice and smooth instead of a sharp angle so it doesn't cut into the carb. But I think it's gonna be pretty good. So these, the carb hoses, obviously are gonna go through here and then down inside the frame. But for right now, they're just kind of hanging there. But let's see if you can see how much, you can't really tell on here. But looking down, the chain, or the rear sprocket, the chain guard and the front sprocket, they are money, man. I mean, they're like on point. So I don't think we're gonna have any issues with chain alignment. I actually just got the rear sprocket in, so I'll probably mess around with that tonight. Throw the rear sprocket on there, put a chain on, see what I'm working with. And then the front, all I got left is to make the front mount right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run same tubing, 1.25 inches. So I'm gonna make some brackets. It's gonna bolt on right here, and it's gonna come down and then curve in and then come down to right about here. I'll make 2 tabs for here. So there'll be a tab here coming off and a tab on the other side coming off, and then 2 tabs up here coming off, and they're all gonna weld up to the 1.25 inch pipe that I'm gonna run down right there. So it'll have 3 points of contact, one here on the head, one here on the front of the motor, and then one on the back side of the motor. And I think that should do it, because the only one I'm not doing is the one on the bottom, and I think I'd be okay. We'll see though. And that's pretty much it for video number 2. This one's really lame, I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm just kind of tinkering with it at this point. What else I'm gonna do? Radiator. So the radiator, I got a CBR 300 radiator, and I'm actually gonna mount it right here. So it'll be, bam, right there. And it's not very big, so it'll be plenty of room. If you look between the tire and the exhaust, there's not a lot of room. It's probably like 2-3 inches. But it's really not that bad, because I run Racetech forks, and they're not nearly as soft as the stock GROM. So if I were riding this motor in the stock suspension, yeah, it would definitely bottom out, and the tire would probably rub right there. But with the Racetech forks, yeah, there's no way in hell that's gonna rub. It'll get close, but it won't rub. And that's pretty much it. Once again, sorry this video is not as cool as the other one. But yeah, I've just been tinkering with it and super busy, and obviously my daughter's in here getting all wild. But it's coming along. It's really close. I'm gonna put the chain on today, and then Saturday should be our last day. Yeah. So if you guys got any questions, hit me up in the comments section. Follow me on Instagram, all that goodness. All right, later. Jump.